The preseason form shown by Manchester United does not give an indication of what to expect for the game versus Chelsea. If you look at the goals that Manchester United scored, most of them did not require a lot of creativity or ingenuity. They were not very high quality goals, maybe with the exception of the Martial goal towards the end of preseason. Another thing that you want to consider is the fact that Manchester United was fielding very strong teams in the first half when you compare to the other teams such as Tottenham, which were giving their kids a chance at the game. So the odds would tell you exactly that. And what is interesting is the fact that Manchester United was actually struggling to close off some of these matches when you look at the odds that they were being given versus the opposition. Another very important thing that you need to note is that the game versus Christensen showed that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, in terms of tactics, has not evolved much from the time that he was in Norway. I've touched on this in previous videos that you might want to check out right here on this channel. Manchester United went into the game versus Christensen heavy favorites with odds of about 1.10 versus Christensen at 15, but they were held until the 90th minute when a last-minute goal actually saved the day. It showed that Michael Christensen, who is the coach of Christensen, knew exactly what to do when it comes to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and did just that and held Manchester United down to the last minute. Now, I will support this fact by saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has played the 4-2-3-1 formation for about 95% of preseason. So this is what you're going to expect, a predictable Manchester United. And if Frank Lampard is worth his salt, he's going to exploit this fact. If you look at Chelsea, they were actually a bit more dynamic during preseason, trying out different formations. Manchester United is probably going to go one route. So with the 4-2-3-1 formation, expect Manchester United to start with David De Gea in the net, Aaron Wan-Bissaka at the right. In the center, you're going to have Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof on the left. You're going to have Luke Shaw in the middle. You're probably going to have Scott McTominay and Paul Pogba. I think McTominay deserves a start since he was Manchester United's best player at the end of last season. Also on the right, you're going to have Daniel James. In the center, you're going to have probably Lingard. At the left, you're going to have Rashford, and leading the line is probably going to be Martial. It's going to be interesting to see whether Ole Gunnar Solskjaer leads the line with Martial or with Rashford. I think Martial is a much better option. Rashford works in certain conditions. Martial is a bit more versatile and has quite a bigger toolbox when compared to Marcus Rashford. Now, what does the starting lineup say about Manchester United? They're probably going for the class of 92 approach. If you look at Ed Woodward's summer signings, and if you look at how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been setting up his teams in preseason, you'll notice that he's going for the class of 92 approach. What I'm going to say is that is not going to work. Let me let you know from the start. Real Madrid tried it last season with the kids. Another team which tried that approach, can't think of one right now, but Real Madrid tried it with Zinedine Zidane having the coach from the club taking over the kids. That did not work. We'll talk about that in other videos. So what does this starting lineup say about Manchester United versus Chelsea? Well, the striker, either Martial or Rashford, is a striker who needs space. So if Frank Lampard affords them that space, expect the young lads to have a chance at goal. If Lampard decides to sit back and play on the counter, that's going to be a problem. We're going to have a striker who's not going to do much for us. And then if you look at our wings, Daniel James and Rashford, they're not actually going to allow us to attack from the byline, which is that line close to the goal, because dribbling past defenders is not something both of them can do very well. These are two wingers who cut inside, so Chelsea is actually going to have an idea of how to defend against those wingers. It's going to make Manchester United a bit predictable. At least if we had a winger who can go on the outside and another who can actually go on the inside, that would provide more variety. Lingard is probably going to be given a license to roam in the middle. He's not a player who's very good also at taking on defenders. He's probably going to try to make use of the space. So this already tells me that Manchester United are not going to rely on flair to attack Chelsea. They're going to rely on movement, because none of our players at the front actually have got the flair to turn other players inside out. So Chelsea defensively might actually have an easy time against our forwards, which is why a lot of the bookies are actually trying to view this as a game which might end up as a draw. Going into the middle, we've got Paul Pogba. He's going to be our source of creativity and probably the focus of our attack, even though he's in the central midfield. Since I said Manchester United is going to be using movement to actually attack Chelsea, expect Pogba to try and find the spaces and create the chances. Expect most of Manchester United chances to actually come from Paul Pogba via through passes and probably via the long ball overhead if Rashford actually gets the chance to run behind the player. So that's going to be Manchester United's attacking strategy, which is getting through balls from Paul Pogba or long balls overhead from Paul Pogba. Don't expect us to attack much from the wings because our wingers do not cross that much. They actually cut in. Paul Pogba is actually going to also give Chelsea a highway to our centre backs because Paul Pogba gets dispossessed often and he gets passed by often. So that's actually going to be a worry. It's something I'm sure Frank Lampard is going to be looking forward to exploit. In his first match, he might actually not be that confident and sit back. So expect Chelsea maybe to play on the counter attack through Paul Pogba. Scott McTominay himself is not very good at tackling, but expect him to roam somewhere around the center of midfield. And I think because of the lack of creativity up front, Paul Pogba and Scott McTominay are going to be given the license to shoot at goal. So expect Lingard, Rashford, McTominay, Pogba to be cracking shots at goal. I don't think Daniel James is very capable of that. So it's going to be a seesaw match with play swinging from one side of the field to another, because when you look at the midfield, none of those players are actually able to hold and control position. Chelsea actually might control the midfield a bit because Kovacic and his accomplice are actually much better at holding the ball. You all know about Kovacic's exploits with the ball and how he was controlling midfield. Not necessarily effectively, but controlling the midfield somewhat. Then we go to our defense. Aaron Wan-Bissaka has been a bit of a disappointment for me in pre-season. I thought he was going to show us how he's going to be bombing forward and providing crosses. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was counting on Wan-Bissaka to be a tactical option by bombing down the right and actually providing crosses for the strikers and other players, he's going to be disappointed because he has not shown that he's able to do that. And another thing that might stop Bissaka from actually bombing forward tomorrow is the presence of Christian Pulisic, who has really emerged as one of Chelsea's focus men. He also plays the game by cutting in, but is also better at dribbling than Daniel James and Rashford. So expect Wan-Bissaka to actually be in trouble. Now, another important thing at the back is whether Bissaka is going to be combined with Maguire or is going to be combined with Lindelof. The thing is, with Lindelof lets a whole lot of balls go down through his side, right? He doesn't really know how to turn quickly, so a clever team will actually exploit that. If Bissaka is positioned next to Lindelof, that will actually be a mistake by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I'll be looking to see how Chelsea will try to exploit that gap. So don't expect much going forward from Bissaka tomorrow and hope that he's not combined with Lindelof. Now, Lindelof is the next player I'm going to be talking about, one of our centre-backs. He's a very good defender going forward. He's composed, a bit comfortable on the ball, but the problem is he's not good in the air and balls, through passes especially, pass him very easily. Expect Chelsea to try and exploit this, even though I don't think they'll try to exploit the through passes very much. I mean, Barclays is not very good with through passes. It's not very creative. He's also a straightforward player like Lingard, who probably look to take a shot or probably tap the ball in from time to time. So expect Chelsea to try to put the ball over Lindelof, and Lindelof is not going to be able to do anything about that. Unfortunately for Manchester United, Tammy Abraham, who's probably going to start for Chelsea as a striker, is going to look to beat Lindelof in the air, get the ball, and strike it goal. Harry Maguire, still a wild card at this point. I think, well, he is an addition, but I don't see how different he is to Chris Smalling and Phil Jones. Don't be surprised if he loses form. Phil Jones and Chris Smalling are going to come at him and probably bench him. We'll see what he does. Right now at the back, there's no one who looks like he can command the team. Harry Maguire can obviously just start commanding the team in his debut. Lindelof is not very good at doing that. So I think maybe David De Gea is going to take up that role, but it's going to be very tricky. Manchester United might actually find itself in 3s and 4s at the back, because right now we don't have a leader who actually controls things from the back. Before, I think we could have relied on Chris Smalling, but I don't see him starting tomorrow. I'm not sure if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer actually considered this, but this is going to be a very big issue. Now we'll also look at Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw is probably going to be up against Pedro. Pedro is very good with his movement. At least he's not very good with the dribbling. Luke Shaw last season was being passed by a lot, just like Ashley Young, and expect this to continue with Pedro combining Tammy Abraham. Not much 1-2-1-2 is going to be going on there, so that might actually save Luke Shaw. But I think the trend is going to continue from last season, where Manchester United will be letting a lot of balls in from the wings, especially from Pulisic's side. I think Wan-Bissaka has got his work cut out for him. So basically what I'm saying is, looking at the lineup that we have, let's not forget David De Gea. He's going to be in goal. He's probably going to have to make a few saves, probably some shots from at the edge of the box and some attempted tap-ins, since Wan-Bissaka and Shaw are not going to cover the wings. We'll see how he handles that. But with David De Gea, it's all about waiting to see what he's going to do, because his form has been off and on lately, and who knows what the contract situation over the summer made him think about Manchester United. Also looking at Paul Pogba, he's probably going to be sulking about the move that he wants to make to Real Madrid. It looks like that might not happen, and he might also be sulking as a result. So we are going to get into this game without someone controlling things from the back. We're also going to not have our talisman in full spirits or in happy spirits, because he also wants to move to Real Madrid. This is going to actually make the game a bit tricky for Manchester United. Lucky for Manchester United, Chelsea is not very strong itself. It's probably going to attack with Tammy Abraham as the gunman, on the left Pulisic, on the right Pedro, and in the center Barclays, also probably in a 4-2-3-1 formation, even though Chelsea might actually surprise Manchester United, because it was being a bit more dynamic during preseason. Expect a game that might have goals, but that will also be close and has a very big chance of being boring. Now here's something to worry about. Scott McTominay is probably going to be the best player for Manchester United tomorrow. He was the best player towards the end of the season. Now talisman Paul Pogba is probably sulking about his move to Real Madrid, so it remains to be seen how this will affect his attitude on the pitch and his gameplay. Scott McTominay has got no ego issues, he's got no limelight issues, and he's got something to prove. He obviously secretly wants to show people that he's better than Paul Pogba. Now the problem is, what does this say about Manchester United and its aspirations for the season? It's probably going to be fighting for fourth at best, and I'm sorry to say that. I know it's going to make you angry. Some are going to stop this video, some are going to curse in the comments. It's all good. I'm the critique, and I make these early calls, and I like to see them come to fruition, even though things might go through different twists and turns. So if you think that I'm off, let me know why you think that I'm off in the comments. But trust me, when I say something, my word is bond. Manchester United is basically screwed. Now look at Tottenham, its best players, Harry Kane. Chelsea's best player. Yeah, that's another team which is in United spot, so it's going to be interesting to watch tomorrow and see how these two teams who are going to struggle this season are actually going to approach the match. It's probably going to be critical for Manchester United to win this match, because Wolves next week looks like a loss, so you don't want to have 2 games into the season you've got 2 losses, especially with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer being supported by Ed Woodward, etc. etc. It's going to really expose a lot of people. Like I said, Tottenham's best players Harry Kane, Manchester City has Sergio Aguero, Liverpool has got the likes of Mane and Salah, Arsenal has got Aubameyang, and we are looking up to Scott McTominay. Tell me what you think about that. That does not look very good, Manchester United fans. Bit of a closer look will show you that Manchester United is in the same shoes as PSG. They attempted to use the Galactical policy and actually failed to implement it. It's not that those stars have been failing at Manchester United. Manchester United and PSG have failed to implement the Galactical policy. PSG, for example, you buy the likes of Neymar, Cavani, Draxler, Di Maria, and then you let Laurent Blanc, Unai Emery and Tuchel coach those people. I mean, that's suicide. I don't actually understand what that chairman is going on about, targeting stars like that. And like Manchester United, PSG has decided to buy players that they say will sweat for the club, will die for the club. And trust me, this is actually not going to work. Real Madrid already tried it last season with the kids. They're probably going to revert to a Galactical policy anytime soon. So it's going to be interesting to see how Manchester United is going to fare. Chelsea is also sort of like in the same boat with Manchester United. Not a great summer, even though Manchester United actually bought some players and they're both using a coach that once played for the club. You're going to see these two philosophies failing at the highest level, and I'm going to be here to document, debate, vlog for you and take all the heat that will come from you as you watch Manchester United suffer. I'm sorry guys, but it is what it is. I already mentioned that this game is going to be a direct match without much flair, but Chelsea has got a bit of an advantage coming from the back as they have a better fullback pairing in Emerson and Azpilicueta, who are going to probably take chances if they can to bomb forward and provide those assists or those chances from the byline or from out wide. Now, Manchester United will not be able to stop that flow if it happens, because Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw will definitely let the balls through from the wings. Manchester United has had this problem for a long time, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has not solved this. So for tomorrow, it might end up a draw. It might actually go either side, but I'm going to lean a bit with Chelsea on this one because Chelsea are a bit of a more mature side. If you look at their preseason, the way they are attacking is a bit more creative, it's a bit more, can I say, authentic. There's a bit of a better quality there, so you'd expect Chelsea to be able to deal with situations that Manchester United cannot on the pitch, as Manchester United will just employ Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's usual tactic of just running at players and hoping for the best, and then when they leave the pitch he probably gives them a hug or something like Klopp does. So expect Chelsea to probably take this, even though the bookies are going against Chelsea. If I were a betting man, I would not bet for Manchester United to win this, rather lean on Chelsea a bit more.